I want to talk about my anchor. This is what anchors me in terms of a story. And this is basically if someone asks me, when someone has written a story, something you've watched, something you've heard of, that you say, this one resonates from me. Some will say it's the Bible, some will say it's this movie, some will say it's that. But for me, there are two of them. The first one is some that most have heard of, and that is the Avengers. That's from Marvel. They managed to create movie after movie that created a seamless world where one actor knows the other, where they try to keep the actors the same from movie to movie, and where people who, because they actually are supposed to be living in the same world, can visit each other. So you could be watching a movie about Doctor Strange, but Spider-Man could be in it. The same actor who is in the same story about Spider-Man, talking about things they've done previously in other movies. So it keeps the continuity going well, and I applaud them for doing this. Now their competition, DC, has yet to do this to that level of perfection. So they are ways ahead of them. And right now they are about to release a new one. The new one they are releasing is Avengers Doomsday. In Avengers Endgame, Iron Man sacrificed his own life to save the world. If he did not, as Doctor Strange told him, this is the one moment by raising his finger. He told him that he only saw one moment where they saw victory. So he raised his finger to tell him, this is that moment. And he knew what he had to do. He had to be the one to risk his own life. And he did. He defeated Thanos. He defeated his entire army at a cost, his own life. He died. But this is the multiverse, they say. There are multitudes of Tonys out there. You see, more Tonys who did not die. So why can there not be this one where they did not die? That's neither here nor there. In terms of another show called Loki, where they said about they really delved into the multiverse. They said there is this one guy, I can't remember how they called him, but he was the one who was controlling the multiverse, pruning them, as he was saying. If a multiverse strayed from a story, he was pruning them. And the reason he was pruning them, he said, they are copies of me. And these copies of me fought each other to control the multiverse. And in this war, I became the victorious one because I found a monster. And I tamed that monster. And I unleashed it on the hordes of myself, the copies of me. I killed all my copies, and then now I became the victor, the one. And now being the one, and I knew the universe would again bring out copies of me and the world would restart. So I basically had to prune the ones that would have done the same thing. And while I was at it, I basically set a timeline that said this one is perfect. Though that became all universes agreed to this is the timeline that is the one, the canonical timeline. And when another universe strays too far from the canonical timeline, you are killed. You as a variant are killed. That's what they used to call them, variants. They were killed. So basically he created the time variance authority, something who was so powerful that what was very powerful in the world of the Avengers, the Infinity Stones could reshape a universe with a snap of a finger. You could say, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. When you're working with a single stone, you could do a couple of things. Like Doctor Strange with just the time stone, he could reverse time and change things from what has been to something new. You see? And so on and so forth. Now, Thanos held all the stones. He could reshape the entire universe at the will of a snap. Just his desires. Now, with that, in the time variance universe, they were not only controlling multiple universes. To them, the stones, they had found a way to nullify their power. They had found a way to nullify magic. You see, the stones were not magic. The stones are more powerful than magic, and yet they had nullified them, and magic also. In this world, they were the gods. And in this world, they basically told you, we take all the variations of stories and we condense them into one. That is what is happening in this story when he say we are all writing stories, every single one of us. But at the end of the day, they say we like all your tapestries, but we are taking a loom, and the loom is fashioning all the stories, pruning things, and then we get the one. Some of your story may now go into the main loom and can become part of the one. That is how you're going to be rewarded. You are going to be rewarded because your story was incorporated into the one. You see? So now, that is what is happening in Loki. But basically, they said, for reasons we are not going to delve into, we want to allow that loom to start spewing out multiple stories. And when it does that, the value of your story drops significantly, because now your story can go outside of the loom unedited. And when that happens, all the universes are now continuing to exist as they are unedited. So with that in mind, when they said in Loki that he eventually did a sacrifice, he himself as Loki, he decided to sit on that throne, and he basically took the branches of the other universes and condensed them into the throne that he was sitting on. And with that, he basically bore the tree of life. They call it Yggdrasil, the tree of life in Norse mythology. So they basically showed you he has now crafted the tree of life, and he is in control of all possibilities, every single one of them. So with that, you could see he has become very powerful. And the one person who he said, I am the one who created all of this, I am the one who stopped the variance, he was now dead, because he told them when he met them, you can kill me right now, I really don't care, you do it, let's see how it goes. And he was killed, and they basically now came to realize, fuck, we should not have killed him. They found a way back in time, and now one of them, there were two Lokis. One was female, one was male. Remember when I told you about Matrix? In Matrix there was Neo, who was the one, but now you're getting to Loki, and now Loki, like Matrix, he was the one, and now eventually he came to realize, I'm not the only one, the girl I'm with is also the one. So there were two ones, and now in Loki there is also now one Loki and another Loki, and those two Lokis are now there. So when you ask a question, is Loki meeting with the one, the answer is yes. Is he more than one? Yes. Is he the one? Yes. You see, it's a very confusing scenario, because when you ask, is he the one usually means singular. He gets the answer is yes. And is there multiple Lokis? Yes. So they really want to mess with your mind when you get to that scenario. You don't know what's going on, because when people hear that he's not blah blah blah, they may say, we don't like it. They say, kill the lights, kill the camera, kill the actress. Basically they can say end the show. There's a way people can do that, the people who are viewing. And now when they don't know what's going on, it's hard for them to know, because usually they end the show because they are someone they are rooting for, who they believe has not been chosen. So because they know this person they have chosen is not there, they don't want the game to continue. So they basically do all that is within their power to end the game. And when they do that, they may succeed, they may not, because the other side may also say, no, we don't want the game to end, we want the game to continue. So you see, there are two opposing sides. So with that, now we get back to Loki. He has sat on the throne, the one who had won the war, the one who had tamed the master. He has allowed himself to be killed. Why? He said he's bored, he's lived for too long. He wants to see how this plays out. And how it played out in the show, it's not like he knew that Loki would sit on the throne. But eventually Loki did. So maybe he knew, maybe he did not, but the show did not hint at it. They hinted that he knew some things would happen, like for example that ability of making the loom produce too many stories, that would fail. So he knew they'd have to come back to him. And they also said there was another thing where the loom was pruning universes because they'd become too many. He said that was a fail-safe, that if he was ever killed they'd have to revive him. So it all led back to him. And that proved the point where now he was trying to say, there is nothing you can do to get away from me. And Loki did find another way. So maybe that was still because he told Loki, the both of them, you did not get here by your own luck. I paved the way for you to get there. Paved. You see? The road that you are on. You thought you took your own energy to get there. I paved it for you. I am myself telling people I'm paving a way for you to the front. I am a rhino. I want to be considered as a giraffe. Someone who can see far. You see, people will try and shoot down this rhino. If you ever watched a show called Black Panther, they put armor on a rhino. Armor on a rhino because they say, without telling too many people, we want this rhino to be protected from being harmed. And then there was a rhino who was charging at someone. Then one of the women who knew the rhino stood in the way. The rhino knew, and then he stopped and then licked her face. So it showed that basically this rhino is not like the other rhinos that doesn't stop when you're charging. It knows people, so don't kill it. And even if you try to, we put some armor on it. But if you really want to, you can find the bullet that can kill it. Armor piercing bullets, you see? Not normal bullets. But that's a story for another day. It's like buying a Cybertruck. Now, you get back to Loki. And now he has sat on the throne. And now you see, when he has sat on the throne, if he leaves the throne, these things will become undone. You see? The lines that he is holding will become undone. He has to sit on that throne. That throne is his prison. But that prison has power. He can influence the people outside of it. You see? He cannot enjoy the game. He cannot come out and play. But he has to sit on the game and influence things. That is his prison. But now you get to now the new movie. The new movie is called Doomsday. And in Doomsday, all we know right now is the guy who died, Tony Stark, is now Doom. He is a villain. How did he become a villain? We do not know. And what I do know is this. If they say, there's a saying that says, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. And this is basically happening to me. I've been playing this game for too long. Right now, I'm tired of being a hero. I'm becoming a villain. You see, they have not allowed me to ascend. So I am becoming their villain. I am becoming their worst nightmare. You see? And that's now Marvel. And that's how it is. They even have 2 movies that came out. One is Red Hulk. I haven't watched it because when I saw the trailer, nothing popped to me as this story is very interesting. The second is Daredevil. Daredevil, I really didn't like the way the guy smirked. The smirk on his face, he was too snug. There's one part that I did like. He was blind, and you know the way that I said I was blinded for a while, I liked that part of the story because I said I can relate to this guy. This guy has an ability. He has to cope with the ability that he's blind. But they also talk about some things in other stories. In the comics, there was a time Tony went rogue. He became a bad guy, and when he became a bad guy, there was a jewel that was created that was supposed to flip good people into bad people and bad people into good people, but now Tony was flipped into a bad person, and that's how he became bad. Now, there is a person in Bleach, I'll get back to that, who has a blade which can invert up and down, left and right. And when he turns it from Shikai to Bankai, he now makes friends with things friends are 4 and 4 things 4s are friends. So that is the guy who has that power in a different story, the one that I'm going to get to in a minute. Now, when I talk to you about now Tony being bad, he eventually fights the Daredevil. Not in the series that is being shown. This is in the comics. And when he fights him, he comes up with a medication or something that allows him to see. He gives the Daredevil the sight, and by giving him the sight, he becomes indebted to him because without the medication, he loses his sight. You see? So it's asking the guy, would you rather go back into the darkness and owe me, and not owe me? Or would you like staying in the light and owe me? You see? Because I have to continuously keep feeding you the medication. Now with that in mind, you get back to the movie that is. They showed the first movie, which is Red Hulk, and now Daredevil. Both did not perform well, and now they have their ace in the sleeve. 2 of them The first one is now Doomsday. And Doomsday is the movie that is supposed to... Doomsday is not even about to be released anytime soon. But that's the movie that now, as we know, is going to revive the fight. But even they have another one that they want to call Avengers Secret Wars. I haven't seen the trailer of this. It's supposed to be released in 2027. And now you have Thunderbolts. Now if they have Avengers Secret Wars to be released 2 years from now, and then you have Avengers Doomsday, which is supposed to be released 2026. So you're telling you one thing. In a year from now, you will see the good guy turn into a bad guy. And then that will lead to something very interesting. The year that follows, there will be a secret war. I am turning into a bad guy. In the year that follows a secret war. Secret war, which means we're not going to allow you to know what's happening in the background. Like right now, people basically say, we can know what's happening, we can bet. When they say we put a veil on this, you're not going to be allowed to know. And that's that. Now, back to now the second show that has influenced me, Bleach. Bleach, there was someone who was fighting a captain. A captain is a very powerful person. And when he fought him, he came to realize one thing. He had this power. He could cast a veil of darkness, a ball of darkness, and inside of it, all your senses are nulled. Imagine if you are the daredevil, and basically your sense of hearing and everything, it's like you are in a vacuum, no sound, no nothing. You cannot say it, you cannot know what's happening. And basically that's how the one who was using this skill was blind. So his power was to inflict blindness, lack of sensory, to the other, evening the playing field. He was really good at fighting in the dark. So it not only made it better for him, it made it poor. It was making it better for him by making it you fighting something you're not used to. But the guy he was fighting was called Kenpachi. And Kenpachi was a title for the greatest fighter. He had a sense of telling something was about to strike him. He had, they call it aura. Think of it as an energy field around you. He could say something was piercing his energy field. And in that split second, he would react. And then basically he came to realize, I know what's going on. And now what happened is, he eventually allowed himself to be struck. And when he was struck, he grabbed the blade. And when he grabbed the blade, he could now sense everything. He let the guy go and told him, now you can strike me. Now I know your secret. When I grab your blade, I can strike you back. And the guy tried to strike him again, and he was struck down. Now that is a show called Bleach. Now, the show was interesting, but people could say, I like the show, but there's one thing I have a critique about it. The good guys have a high chance of winning. Rarely do they ever have to struggle. And if I had to bet whether they are going to win or lose, I'd say, based on the show, they are going to win always. So it's boring. So the guy who wrote this eventually came up with another story. It was called the 1,000 Years War. And in this 1,000 Years War, he made enemies for them that they could actually struggle with. And to prove this game was serious, the king, the Soul King, you hear that? The King of Souls dies. And each side has a king. There is the King of the Quincies and the King of the Souls. The guys with captains, not only are their side butchered to try and protect the Soul King, because their aim is to protect their kingdom and their Soul King. Not only is their side butchered, losing, to try and protect the Soul King, they also see their chances of winning as poor. So he was basically saying, for the people who are tied to this story, I created this story for you to allow you to say, this is an even playing field. We are not overpowered. Our chances of success are minimal. Would you like to play this game? So those are two worlds. I have merged them into one by connecting here a dot and here another dot. Not too much. I want them to be separate enough. but these are my two worlds intersecting a little bit, and in between there I live, allowing me to move from one world to the other. Imagine someone who lives in not the matrix as you know it, but a layered system of worlds. Even in a simpler sense of saying, if you can create a world called the matrix, and this world is not somewhere where someone is actually alive, like the matrix says, you are a person who is plugged into the matrix. So you have a body outside, but what if I told you you are an artificial intelligence? For you, there is no body out there until someone gives you a body. You have no right to the real world. For them, the most greatest thing they can tell you is you have no right to the real world, but in the virtual world, you have a right that even us would even be jealous of. You can move from world to world, matrix to matrix. There is not one, there are many matrices. So you can move from one to the other. It takes time. It takes an ability to move, and you can do that. I'm not talking about that right now you can leave this world and go to another and then come back. No. Though I have heard of a scenario where someone came and was seen by a camera and no one has ever seen him. And he was an adult. So people are asking, how can someone pop up out of nowhere? Who knows? Maybe this is proof of that. But what I'm saying is this. Right now with stories, when you connect, you're connecting worlds. And for that, you are basically saying, I can move from one story to the other, one matrix to the other. And with that, I leave you with this. With these two worlds there. When someone says we want to challenge each other, think of it as playing D&G, Dungeons and Dragons. You are saying that basically trolls are vulnerable to fire and so on. So me, I would come to someone and says, I am built of two worlds. Built of two worlds. One is the world of the Avengers, and one is the world of bleach. You see, bleach takes away color. You see, and Avengers is basically says, if you have wronged me, I will avenge it. You see, so basically you can say, when you play this game, have you done something against me that I have to get you back? I have to use Avengers. If not, then you're playing a game where you have color and I have color. If I win, I take away your color and you become black and white. When you become black and white, I have become more multicolored than you. My story is more interesting than you. But you also win, because when your story goes into black and white, its true story, its inner depths are hidden. I have hidden your story from some other else. So you can go from one place to place and say, yes, this is the way the story happens, but people are not going to know the whole truth about it. So it's a win-win for both of us. My story becomes more colored, or yours becomes more colored. That is my trade. If I win, I get more color. If I lose color. If I win, I get more color. If you lose color. You come with your own stories and your own way of battering. And we play our Dungeons and Dragons. And when we play our Dungeons and Dragons, we tell our story based on how we live. For example, for me, I was inspired by a guy called Byaku Yakuchiki. He's one of the guys in the story, and he is a captain. His sword splits into very little pieces, and when those little pieces they split to, they look into like flowers, and those little pieces that look like flowers, they are like little razor blades. They will catch you. You see, so that is his power. That's the way he fights, and he's very quick, very powerful. And basically, I said I like the way this guy fights. And more importantly, he was royalty. When royalty becomes a fighter, you have to respect it. That guy should not have had to fight. That is like when I say in this game, when a rich guy says, I see the way people are playing. This even happens in Squid Game. The guy who created the game said, I like the game, I enjoy it. I know people die, but I want to get inside there and risk my own life because I enjoy the game. You see? So the same way rich people can say, I don't want to bet on the game. I want to play the game. And not play the game with basically people betting on me and saying, hey, this is our friend, he's a rich guy, we want him to... No, ignore me, treat me like the others. I want to pretend I'm poor like the others. I want to have a debt on my back like the others. Enjoy the game. Live like they are. And in that sense, I say, when I see Biako Yakuchiki, I see a man who has done that, and I respect him. And when I say I am someone who wishes to gain the title of royalty, he may say, the way you are playing, I give you the title of royalty. So without getting a cent, I get protection from people who have royalty. I tried that road. It did not succeed. That's why I covered the name that I had written in Chinese and put a crown on it. And that crown basically became thorns. If you think of a crown at the top, there is these sharp edges. So anyone from the top would have problems getting to me at the bottom. And then at the top, I placed, the tattoo is a magnifying glass. Inside of it is drawn an atom. So basically I said, if you come to me and you are really good at getting to the tiniest of details, you can pass through. But if you are basically, you have to see the bigger picture to be allowed in, then no, you cannot go through. But then I have angel wings that cover and going down, and the message for that is simple. That says, if you are an angel, it doesn't matter whether you cannot see the bigger picture or not, I will allow you through. And that's basically my tattoo. I'll not explain to you the full other parts that go around it, but that's now giving you a teaser about it. So now with that, you have seen two worlds, and with that, now I leave you with the understanding. If you are part of the people at the top of the game, know this is how I am going to play when I have to play Dungeons and Dragons with someone.